Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's so nice to see so many people here. At this time, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Our presentations of colors tonight is given to us by cadets from Reynolds High School, instructed by Lieutenant Colonel David Wade Wise, and United States Army retired Sergeant First Class Jamie Brown. Would you please rise for the presentation of colors? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence, and please remember all the people who are suffering, not only in our community, but around the world. Thank you. You may be seated. Tonight, as we approve the agenda, I need a motion to amend the agenda. I need to put an addition to the action agenda item at Irwin High School. The easement of the sewer line replacement removal came in under bid, so the board doesn't have to take action on that. And so could I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Tonight, we have our superintendent's comments.
Good evening, parents, members of the community, board members, and teammates. This evening's comments will be brief, as I'll have the opportunity to address the board and the community in just a few moments. During the month of May, we have the opportunity to celebrate more of our teammates with Teacher Appreciation Week, National School Nurses Day, and National Principals Appreciation Day. We know that we are indeed blessed by the dedicated men and women who choose service to children and families as their life's work. As the school year begins to wind down, may we all take a moment to thank every single person, be they employee, parent, guardian, community supporters, and volunteers, for their support of the children of Buncombe County. Next week, Dr. Reed and the curriculum team invite everyone to preview 4 different materials under consideration for our K-8 math curriculum. This is an open drop-in event on May 9th and May 10th from 4 to 6 p.m. I'd like this evening to give a shout out to Oakley Elementary School. The students, staff, and community recently celebrated 100 years of service to the community with a centennial celebration. Seeing former students, now grandparents and great-grandparents, walking the hallways of their beloved school reminded me of just how important our schools are to the communities they serve. One thing I have learned, and one thing we know, is that students, families, and the community have never needed a strong, loving, and caring school system as much as they do now. We accept this challenge. We commit to each and every one of our students. We will elevate to new and majestic heights. We will give our all because our students are worthy of our very best efforts. To our team and to our board members, thank you for all that you do for our students, families, teachers, and staff of Buncombe County Schools. Madam Chair, this concludes my comments.
Thank you. Tonight, for good news, I will recognize Dr. Harris and Dr. Jackson.
Good evening, Dr. Jackson, Madam Chair, members of the board. For our good news segment this evening, to get us kicked off, we'd like to recognize some state champions. To help us with that is David Ball. He is our district athletic specialist. He will lead our recognition. David Ball. David Ball, you're on. Come on down.
Good evening, Dr. Jackson, Madam Chair, distinguished members of the board, and our special guests who are here this evening. It is my honor to present information about a very successful winter season for Buncombe County schools in athletics. At the middle school level, the Cane Creek girls basketball team and the Valley Springs boys basketball teams both finished 17-0, winning regular season and tournament championships. At the high school level, students from Buncombe County schools won 2 NCHSAA state championships in indoor track. We are honored to have these students here this evening, and we will recognize them in a moment. Other highlights of the winter season would include BCS teams winning 5 regular season high school conference championships and 3 high school conference tournament championships. Additionally, there were 5 high school athletes from Buncombe County schools named Conference Player of the Year in their respective sport. And finally, there were 2 Buncombe County high school coaches that were selected Conference Coach of the Year in their respective sport. All of these accomplishments plus pictures are featured on the BCS website under athletics. There were many exciting events, highlights, and accomplishments during the winter athletics season. And our schools deserve to be recognized for having 1,441 athletes participating in winter sports, an increase of 165 athletes over last year. Now let's get to our special recognition. At this time, I would like to recognize Dr. Samantha Searcy, principal of Owen High School, who will recognize Owen's 2023 NCHSAA 1A, 2A men's indoor track 500-meter individual state champion. Dr. Searcy will be followed by Mr. Kevin Yantz, principal of North Buncombe High School, who will recognize North Buncombe's 2023 NCHSAA 3A women's indoor track state champion 4x800 relay team. I'll try not to repeat those last 2 things, but anyway, at this time, I'll recognize Dr. Searcy.
Thank you, Coach Ball. Tonight, it is my honor to introduce you to Davis Kendall. Davis is a 10th grader at Owen High School, currently has a 3.79 GPA, and although that's pretty impressive, he's a pretty great guy, too. He's here tonight with Coach Bob Saddlemeyer, who has been his coach for 2 seasons now through cross-country and indoor track this school year. This was Davis's first indoor track season ever. Davis placed first place in both the 55-meter and 500-meter events at the Polk County Polar Bear Meet. Both were his first time competing at those distances. He also placed second place in the Polk County Polar Bear 3 meet in the 300-meter at 36 seconds. First place at both the 55-meter and 500-meter at the Final Opportunities race in Columbus. That's his indoor track record. Davis was able to secure the state championship in the 500-meter with a personal and school record of 1.07.82. Davis is ranked first in the state in the current outdoor season and is a key member of both the 4x200 meter and the 4x400 meter teams that are ranked currently second in the state. Davis is also a member of the 2022 Owen High School men's soccer team, who are also the current North Carolina state champions, where Davis was named the MVP of the championship game. And what a game that was. Along with soccer, the indoor track 500 meter is Davis's second state title of the school year, and he let me know it won't be the last.
Come on down. Congratulations, Davis Kendall.
Good evening. I have the privilege of recognizing our 4x8 indoor women's track team. All of them couldn't be here yet because they were practicing this afternoon. But these special young ladies are Eden Barnwell, who represents the Virtual Academy by day. Katie Johnson represents Nesbitt by day. Avery Mays represents North Buncombe High School by day, and Sophie Banks represents Nesbitt Academy by day as well. But when they run in the afternoon, they all wear Blackhawks on their chest. This group of young ladies, of course, won the first place in the indoor state and currently are running 27 seconds faster than any posted times in the state for outdoor. So we're looking forward to another great opportunity. These young ladies are coached by Dean Duncan and Jane Roan. And if you want to come on down.
Board members, this evening I'm real excited to have the opportunity to recognize a teammate. 7 years ago, the North Carolina School Superintendents Association built a program called the North Carolina Aspiring Superintendents Program. The program requires that members of the program are recommended by their superintendent and are considered to be among the best of the best. We've had both of our assistant superintendents now who've been a part of that program, and both have done very well. At the end of the program, the instructor, the facilitator, selects the participant who most added to the learning of the other participants, the one participant to recognize and to represent the entirety of the cohort. That person receives the Dr. Sam Houston Award. Dr. Sam Houston was the superintendent of Mooresville Graded School System. He was the superintendent who first introduced the concept of year-round schools in the state of North Carolina, as highly regarded in our profession. This evening, I'm extremely excited to announce and share that our own Dr. Jennifer Reed was selected for the Dr. Sam Houston Award as part of the North Carolina Aspiring Superintendents Program. Dr. Reed.
I'll take a moment of privilege just to say a word or two of gratitude. I'm so honored to receive recognition for doing work that brings me so much joy. When I thought about what to say this evening, I was thinking about the word a calling, and it's a word that we hear a lot, and we hear a lot in the profession of education. And when I first was looking into what in the world career am I going to land into when I was in college, I heard somebody very wise say that a calling is where one of the world's greatest needs meets someone's greatest passion. And I feel like education has served me well in that regard for the last 22 years. And so to be able to support other teachers and other educators, though my vantage point has changed from the classroom to the school to the district, I'm still very connected to my why, and that is to serve children because that is my passion. And so I really appreciate this honor.
We have someone else that's very passionate about education, and that would be our own Dr. Jackson. And it was really nice that Western Carolina University realized that they had a passionate graduate who had returned to the mountains to do his work here. And so they gave him a peak performance award. And so, Dr. Jackson, if you would come forward. We're real glad he found the mountains. He'd been at the coast so long, we couldn't get the sand out of his toes. But I believe he's found a little mud since he came up the mountains. And so here is his award. You know, I graduated from Western, but they didn't give me anything except a sheet of paper. Thank you. Okay. Does she know that? On the agenda. It's time for the curriculum feature, and I'll recognize Dr. Stacia Harris.
All of our wonderful schools and, entire communications team. I thought I'd stand up here and take credit for all of it, but I thought, no, we'll recognize them. So if you could raise your hand and wave, Brianna Hensley, Han Henson. Han Henson and Timothy Reeves. Wave your hand. Wave, Tim. Wave. So we certainly hope you all experienced the same magic that we experienced as we were going on these tours along with Dr. Jackson. So with that. Stand by. It's coming.
certainly appreciate the communication team for capturing all that. It takes a while to see video and pictures from 45 schools. And I'm struck by two feelings. One, what a blessing it is to have been in the classrooms of Buncombe County Schools, to see the amazing teachers, grades pre-K through 12, and what they do every single day throughout our building. And two, I think I may now have the world's best T-shirt collection. This evening, as I have the opportunity to share with our Board of Education, with our teachers and staff, our teammates, with our community, what I have learned over the course of my first 6 months, I want to first share with you what an incredible blessing it is to serve Buncombe County Schools, to come back home to the school system that means so very much to me. Board members, I appreciate this opportunity, and as I shared with you in an interview, I will continue to endeavor to earn from you every day the appreciation that I'm giving you all that I have, and I'll continue to do that. This evening, as I start, I'd like to recognize some special guests, and I certainly appreciate them because they honor me with their presence, and they honor our school system, more importantly, our students and our staff. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Al Whitesides and Commissioner Martin Moore. Commissioners, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We appreciate the partnership with our county commissioners and all that you do. As I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Baldwin, and he shared with me what the commissioners had done historically to support this school system, I knew we are indeed blessed by the partnership, and your presence tonight is a strong indicator of that, and thank you both for being here. It means the world to us. Opportunity to work with one of our teachers very closely, and I'll highlight that work in just a few moments. But when I met her, I knew she was a teacher's teacher, someone completely dedicated to her students, but also to teachers and to being an educator. And I certainly appreciate her leadership in the district and her work with myself and our team on creating our Teacher Leadership Council that I'll talk about in just a few moments. And so I'd like to welcome our Buncombe County Schools Teacher of the Year from North Buncombe High School, Miss Jenny Zimmerman. Ms. Zimmerman, you're supposed to stand up and wave so friends can see. There you go. Thank you. I'm also beyond excited to introduce this person to you. You see, at this point, I think I've given, we tried to count, I think I've given 67 presentations since I arrived, and in all the presentations at all 45 of our staff meetings and all of the presentations we've had in this room, I've mentioned a very special person. A person, when I walked into her classroom at Swananoa School, she said, "Robbie, you can do anything you dream of. You can." I'm so excited to introduce to you my teacher, Miss Jackie Parham. Miss Parham, please stand. Parham had myself and Jeff Burleson in the same classroom. You can imagine what that was like. I also want to recognize, and I've mentioned it a couple of times because it's a part of the power of education. As I stand here before my teacher, I'm also so very honored to stand here before one of my students because I fashion myself a teacher in all things, and I'm so very proud of one of my students, Principal of A.C. Reynolds High School, Mr. Ben Alexander. Promises to not tell all the stories, and so does Ms. Parham, so thank you for that. In this work, I've been very blessed, and I'll hurry and move along, but in this work, I've been very blessed to share the work There's no way that I could do what I do and attend all the night events and all the many things if I didn't have an incredible partner in my life and in this work. And I'm so grateful that my wife is here this evening, my wife, Renee. Introduce the real superstars. There's no question in this school system what we value most and best. And in each of our schools, I was greeted by incredible young people in our primary schools, in our elementary schools, in our intermediate schools, in our middle schools, and our high schools. I had the opportunity to get down on the carpet with them in class or walk down the hall with them. They introduced me to their schools. And each time I asked them the three questions I ask everybody else, but I asked the last question this way. I said, what would you do if you were the principal of this school for a day? And aside from longer lunches and a bit more passing period, most of the time they said, I wouldn't change anything because it's so fabulous. I'm so blessed to have with us a member of each of our high schools representing all 23,000 students in the Buncombe County school system. I'd like to ask them to stand as I introduce them. And again, as I shared with you earlier, it's such a compliment to all of us that you're here this evening, and I very much appreciate it. Starting right here from T.C. Robertson High School, Miss Delilah Cruz. Delilah. Next to her from A.C. Reynolds High School, Mr. Asher Cunningham. Asher. North Buncombe High School, Miss Lorena Alamo. Lorena. Nesbitt Discovery Academy state champion, Sophia Banks. High School, Miss Taylor McCone. Taylor. From Irwin High School, Miss Jamison Phelps. Jamison. High School, Cole Christian. Cole. From Buncombe County Schools Virtual Academy, Miss Gracie Nicholson. Gracie. From Community High School, Mr. Jesse Raines. Jesse. And from Buncombe County Early College, India Hootem. India. These incredible young people, each, let me clear something off the screen. There we go. These incredible young people each spent time with me. In the high schools especially, we typically got to meet without the administrators and the teachers, and they were just real. And I very much appreciated those moments, and I appreciated the administrators and principals and faculty giving me that opportunity. I want to share with you that everything that they shared with me, everything that most of the folks in this room who I had the opportunity at some point to interact with in our schools, everything you shared with me, I wrote down. In fact, since I arrived on November 1st, I'm now on my second journal, and I've got 3 pages left. And I want you to know everything you shared continues to drive my work and will drive my work as long as I'm blessed to serve Buncombe County Schools. And I want to thank you for sharing with me your answers to those 3 questions. I had the opportunity I didn't see coming in my life. I've shared that story as well, to interview with the Board of Education. They asked me a lot of questions over the course of 2 interviews because they wanted to make sure that the person who came in understood what a blessing it is to serve this school system and what a responsibility it is to serve our 45 schools and 23,000 students and 5,000 full and part-time employees. One of the questions they asked me was this. Apparently they didn't ask me anything. All right, the computer has gone to sleep. I wasn't holding my mouth right. One of the questions they asked me was this. Let's pretend I got that down just right. I was asked this question, asked to present to the Board of Education, how will you structure your first 90 to 100 days, keeping in mind that you'll start during the middle of the year, knowing I was starting on November 1st. And so I shared with the Board of Education the superintendent's entry and learning plan. And as I shared that learning plan with members of the board, I do remember Mr. Bryant's eyes rolling a little bit like, really, you're going to do all that? And I said, I'm going to do my best. And so I shared with him that this would be the goal for my first 6 months as I had the opportunity to serve the school system. And I'll let you each decide how well I did with this goal. The goal was a series of meetings and listening sessions along with a process of research and exploration to establish a positive relationship with our Board of Education, to establish positive working relationships with administrators, teachers, and staff, to establish a positive presence in the community, to understand the strengths and weaknesses of our academic programs, to understand our operational efficiencies and alignment, to understand our current financial situation. As I shared with him, there would be 4 phases to this entry and learning plan. The first, pre-entry, and then moving on to listening and learning. The third phase, planning. The fourth phase, leading. That first phase, pre-entry, my intention was to share the plan with the Board of Education to allow them to share with me any feedback that they might have. I would then meet with one of my great heroes, Dr. Baldwin, and his senior staff to begin to review school system data and plan school visits to prepare for the transition. And then as I moved into the second phase, I would engage in a series of listening and learning activities, which would include school and facility visits, individual meetings with the Board of Education, meetings with internal and external stakeholders, and holding community forums by high school feeder pattern areas and through an online community meeting. Additionally, internal and external documents and additional data would be collected for analysis and planning. Phase 2 looked like visits to all 45 schools during my first 2 weeks, and then day-long visits at all 45 schools and the PEP program. Staff meetings here in this room, 2 of them, because the room was packed with our non-school-based employees who work in transportation and maintenance and finance and human resources. Individual meetings with our principals and district leaders, individual meetings with our Board of Education members. It would go on to include meetings with our county manager, with our sheriff, meetings with the chancellor of UNCA, meetings with the AB Tech president, the opportunity to address all 6 of our municipality town councils, the opportunity to address our Board of County Commissioners, meetings with partner groups like the United Way and the Boy Scouts, the YMCA, BCAE, the ARC, and the Economic Development Council, and I know that I'm missing several. It's been a busy 6 months. That phase has been absolutely incredible, but I would do a disservice if I didn't also say that my 6 months has also been informed by attending 5 funerals since I arrived. 3 students and 2 staff members have passed away, and it's an incredible honor to attend a celebration of life service, to be there as a family grieves and as a community grieves. And that certainly, too, has informed my work as we think about the needs of our students and our families in our community. In each of those meetings, there's a conversation had. Every time I've gathered in front of a group, I've given the opportunity to share comments, questions, concerns, and compliments, an open forum where anything could be shared with the superintendent that was on somebody's heart and mind. And I asked 3 very important questions. And in just a moment, we'll dig through those 3 questions. Phase 3, we moved into, and in phase 3, the planning phase, the superintendent and senior staff and administrators will analyze the individual and group meeting data to identify trends and themes across the district received from stakeholders. The trends and themes will be prioritized and identified as strengths and possible opportunities for district improvement. And so as I asked those 3 questions and I shared with everyone I stood in front of that I would read the responses to all of them, I also shared that our district data disaggregation team would be reading all of those responses as well. And they have. Almost 2,800 responses they've read and worked hard through. And so I've asked them to share with you, unfiltered through me, what they've learned and what we've learned from everything that's been shared with us. Our district disaggregation team, and they'll come one at a time, but let me introduce them. First of all, Mr. Jeremy Stowe, Mr. Taylor Baldwin, Mr. Brian Probst, and Mr. Steve Airwood, who's not here. Do I have his part? No, I'm teasing. Come on down, Jeremy.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. We were tasked with the opportunity to review closely those 3 questions that I would say a lot of us in this room had the opportunity to answer. It's a lot of information in those questions. Our group took the opportunity to look at the unfiltered responses that were provided in these surveys, to analyze those, compile the information in an objective manner to inform those future decisions that Dr. Jackson has spoke of time and time again. We saw quickly that there were strong emotional responses to each one of those items because the work we do is very heavy and very heartfelt as we work with our students each time. The data collection, he talked about how many times he presented this, and some of us heard this a few times. And with that, he presented at 45 school visits, 2 central services meetings that were in this room that packed the room both times, 6 in-person town hall meetings, and 1 virtual town hall where the links to the survey were placed on social media for other people to be able to respond. We had 2,756 responders, and with that, everybody responded 3 times, so we're close to 9,000 entries of information as we went through that. We saw 220 community members provide responses, but one of the interesting pieces of the data that we found was we had 2,536 employees respond. Those of us that have worked with surveys in the past know that if you have a participation greater than about 50%, you've got a significant participation variable there, and we had close to 70% of our employees participate in this survey. Moving on, we had 3 questions. First question, we've all heard it. What do you love best about Buncombe County Schools? The responses were always heartfelt. It feels like home. Each school is a family. We found that time and time again, that we love who we are and we love what we do. We have a small town feel. Even though we are a large system, we still have that small town feel. We're at 20,000 plus students, and we often have the opportunity to know each other, where we live and what we're about. Also, always looking toward providing the best for children. Our answers were specific to children and children first. There we go. The second question is, what should never change about Buncombe County Schools? Those responses were student-centered each time. Our commitment to students never changed, putting students first. And we saw a lot of pride in specific school or communities, and a lot of the principals in this room will yell, "Go Rams," right, Mr. Allison? With that, we also recognition of individuals that work hard in their respective roles by naming my school improvement chair, my community member, etc. The final question is, what should the new superintendent be working on first? That was a lengthy response, and oftentimes keeping us all informed. We wanted information. It's hard right now. We wanted the morale and the support to be high, and we also need more. We need more pay and more benefits. In order to analyze this, again, we had 9,000 responses that we had to analyze. We knew that we couldn't put them all up here because we would never get this presentation done. We started with what we called the bucket process. So the 4 of us, the 3 of us and Steve Earwood, who can't be here tonight, we read the responses, and as we read the response, we read them independently, and we started thinking, how do we put these different items into what we called buckets? So we read them, and we came up with a respective bucket for each one of the 3 questions. Those buckets then were sometimes placed into sub-buckets, and we'll talk about that. But we found out quickly that we had a whole lot of data. So how do we sift through all this? And we think we've come up with a couple ways to sift through it. We do acknowledge the fact that there could be subjectivity, right? Because those of us that have really tried to control before for measures and statistics, we know that we try to filter out emotion. But when we read these responses independent of each other, 90% of the time we came back with the same responses in the same buckets, so we feel pretty good about that. We also feel that the major themes and thoughts were identified and conveyed. We feel as though in this survey, done independent of Dr. Jackson, this survey conveyed what the thoughts and feelings of our community members and employees tried to convey. Mr. Baldwin.
So I had the pleasure to get the best question out of the 3. I just wanted to point that out. But I am going to go over the data that we found with what do you love best with Buncombe County Schools. We separated this into 8 major buckets. students, staff, family, community, support, culture, diversity, commitment and collaboration, and then our other bucket. So the top three buckets, the first one, 28% of the responses were in the students bucket, and the majority of their questions were responding with the students are the best part of their job. The second bucket was for staff, and we saw that a lot through all three questions that they love people they work with. And then the third largest, 19%, was family and community. And we did see that a lot through each three questions as well, but they felt like that this was a community and part of their family. The rest of the buckets, we had 14% for support, that they felt seen and supported. 10% was culture, that they felt like there was culture built for each school district. Third was diversity, and they felt like they were part of a diverse system. And then commitment and collaboration, and that they were committed to excellence. The other buckets, we had 2% for that. The majority of the other bucket was for benefits. They felt like that they really enjoy the benefits from Buncombe County Schools. I'm going to let Brian do the second question.
So a lot of similarities you're getting ready to see on question number 2, which is what should never change about Buncombe County Schools? So we divided this up into about 7 major buckets, including love, system, staff, instruction, opportunities, support, and other. So let's break those down. So the question, what should never change about Buncombe County Schools? The first category, overwhelmingly 37% all had the love theme, right? So of that love theme, we had some sub-buckets because we couldn't just put them all in one category. So 529 responses used the word students or student needs or student-centered. The second sub-buckets was a focus. Again, these two buckets were very similar, but we just broke them out. So a student focus or focus on staff. The third sub-bucket was commitment. We're going to just hit OK on that. Didn't pop up here. Commitment. So commitment to students and commitment to families. And then the fourth sub-bucket, relationships. So this was all part of that first love bucket, relationships with families, community, students. So again, a lot of similar words being used in both question 1 and 2. The second major bucket after love was the system. What should never change about Buncombe County Schools? Well, people were saying that the system was pretty great as it is. So they loved the district, the resources that they provide, and it being a district or a school of excellence. 142 responses there. 136 responses dealing with community, building families. The third sub-bucket in the system is 83 responses said schools. They had school pride, they appreciated the school safety, and the low class sizes. And finally, diversity, which also again came with the first question. The third major bucket after system was the staff. What should never change about Buncombe County Schools is the staff. With 98 responses citing the village or any kind of staff or support staff, 88 responses specifically citing teachers and the professionalism and the trust, 21 responses citing administrators, specifically principals and directors. And then the next bucket number 4, is instruction. Now we're getting down to about 7%, so we didn't really do sub-buckets on instruction. But some of the words that were used in those responses were curriculum, standards, and a personalized education. Bucket number 5 was opportunities, citing growth, improvement, and expectations at 7%. Bucket number 6 was the support. What should never change about Buncombe County Schools is the support that they provide, collaboration, dedication, the central services, and the departments with Buncombe County Schools. And then the 8th bucket was other. We had a lot of words. We built a word cloud based upon the frequency on those occurrences, things like the buses, the acceptance, the calendar, athletics. So there was a lot of good information that we learned from what should never change about Buncombe County Schools.
What should the new superintendent be working on first? So before I go into this question, I got to point out the irony of what's happening right now. Steve Earwood, our director of testing, is stuck on a bus and he can't get a field trip here, and your director of transportation is presenting a data slide. So I couldn't have. I promise I couldn't have planned that better, but I've been remiss if I didn't take the opportunity.
And I'll just say that's a Robertson district that he's driving, and I got proof. Bless his heart, he's on I-40, and I mean he's literally on I-40.
He calls me at 5 o'clock and he said, "I haven't moved for 30 minutes. You got my slides." I said, "I got to work the joke in somehow." So really enjoying that. What should the new superintendent be working on first? If I had one word to describe this area, it would be the word more. Often we heard and we saw trends of more. If you notice, I won't go through and read all 12 of those buckets as we'll go around it, but the common theme was we're working hard and we need more. An interesting data piece to all the responses of this question 3 is the characters were 3 to 1 compared to the other 2 questions. So we tried to take an opportunity to look at it as objectively as we could. So we counted the number of characters that were in the 3,000 responses of what should the superintendent be doing next. And it had a very large number, which was 3 times larger than the other responses. So we talked and we spoke a lot when we answered this question. What should the new superintendent be working on first? Again, with the idea of more, we should be looking at more personnel, more relationships, more funding, and more pay. As we go into breaking down what those more categories look like, 19% of the respondents spoke about personnel, with 172 responses talking about creating leaders, supporting teacher, and fostering a positive work environment. We move on down to 125 students that were attracting new teachers and incentives to retain the current teachers that we have in the classrooms. And then finally, that in that sub-bucket of personnel, it was staff morale. We saw a number of responses that spoke about how hard the teachers are working right now and how heavy it feels often. Moving on into the relationships bucket, which was the second most prevalent bucket in this data analysis, respective to question number 3, it was 147 folks said that the superintendent should be visible in the schools. I think he's done that. If he hasn't, call me. Listening to teacher concerns and different recommendations, having that ear. Also, he needed to continue to work on engaging the parents in the community, being available and being present. In the staff, listening to staff concerns and taking those recommendations and doing something with them. Again, as we keep with that idea of more is more funding, often a lot of the responses, the superintendent didn't have any say-so or any power in, but it was a felt need from the folks that responded. We need funding. It would often, the sub-buckets in funding said staff, hiring more staff members, more counselors, more non-licensed staff, more materials. There was a felt need that we need to have more items quickly at our hand that the teachers need to do their job, or more classroom materials. And then with that, also some specific programs as far as funding, often a program of need for our more vulnerable populations, maybe alternative educations, newcomers, or our pre-K folks, and often the arts were listed. We got to the bucket that we all know that was there, and that was the bucket of pay. Again, to describe that bucket of pay, it was more. Higher pay for teachers and non-certified. One of the items in those 310 respondents also dealt with larger supplements for coaches, for athletic coaches and people that deal with their students after school and those extracurricular activities. Coming on around the pie graph that we had created, the next most prevalent buckets, and you can see the sub-buckets in there, policy, equity, mental health, and curriculum and instruction, making sure that those voices are heard for these items that were very important for the people that responded that day and that time. The buckets continue to get smaller with 4% saying they need safety, some increased safety provisions at their individual schools, maybe SROs or school nurses. Communication, 2% of increase was asked there with maybe our weather messages or communication back and forth with parents. Facilities, often people would ask for a new facility or repair to their respective facility. And then we also had what we call 9%. And to not disrespect anybody that's in this other bucket, but was often an individual gripe. It was an opportunity that I need something, this is not fair, I don't like this, so we put it in the other bucket. Dr. Jackson, you have something to do.
Thank you, and I do want to thank the district data disaggregation team. As I shared with our faculty across the school system, all of this data is certainly useful for the work that I'm doing and will do, but it will also be used to help us as we write our new strategic plan, because as a community, we've come together and shared what we love best about our school system, what should never change about our school system, and what we collectively should be working on first. And so that leads us to the final phase of the superintendent's entry and learning plan, which is the leading phase, which culminates with a report of the findings and including recommendations to the Board of Education, and that's what we're here doing this evening. Now, I'll tell you, I had a conversation on the phone with my teacher, Miss Parham, and she said, "Now, Robbie, I want to ask you something," and I haven't been Robbie since I was in her classroom. She said, "Robbie, I want to ask you something." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Robbie, are you going to tell it like it is?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And I will do that because I want to honor all that I learned and witnessed and saw, and again, want to share with you how incredibly impressed I am by all I saw in our 45 schools in the PEP program, the dedication of our teachers and our amazing students. And so, separate from what we just saw in the survey results, this is really my observations, notes I took, my takeaways as each night I would reflect and share with my wife about the visits I had during the day. Among the strengths, first and foremost, our students. What a blessing it is to be an educator, to serve the children of Buncombe County. We serve amazing kids. Sometimes that message is lost in other messaging, but there are amazing children, amazing young people, and amazing young adults as characterized by this group on the front row throughout Buncombe County schools. And we owe them our very best. We know they're worthy of our very best, and we take that very seriously. Our strengths also include our teachers. Part of the work was a lot of data digging into our school system information, and so I'd like to share with you, it looks like the numbers got off just a little bit there, but among our school system teachers, 300 of our teachers are in their first 4 years of teaching, 371 in years 5 through 9, 364 in years 10 through 14. 348 teachers have at least 15 years of experience, 15 to 19. 308 teachers have 20 to 24 years of experience. 174 teachers have 25 to 29 years of experience, and 92 teachers in our school system have been teaching for 30 plus years. 47% of our teachers have 15 plus years of experience. That's absolutely incredible. I sometimes think about some of the students in my very first class, and I feel bad because I learned a lot after that first class, and I want to go back and reteach that fourth grade year. Every year a teacher teaches, they get stronger and better tomorrow than today, better today than yesterday, and we're so very blessed and grateful for the experience of our teachers. Among our teachers, 730 teachers have earned a master's degree. 106 of our teachers have an advanced degree or a 6-year degree. 20 of our teachers teaching in the classroom have a doctorate. 311 of our teachers have earned national board certification. Another 30 plus have national board certification who are now working outside of the classroom. And so the experience and the continuing education of our teachers speaks for itself and shows in the quality work they do every single day. Another strength in our school system is literacy instruction. I spent a lot of time on the carpet in our elementary and primary and intermediate schools, and I had a lot of fun as we were tapping out the sounds and words and syllables using foundations and going through Heggerty and taking off the first sound and putting back on a sound, and what do we have now? Using our phonics application and decodable text with geodes, and then our knowledge building and wit and wisdom. The quality of those ELA classes in our pre-K through second grade through fifth grade classrooms is absolutely amazing. I share that because our teachers, our elementary teachers, were given a yeoman's task. I can't put enough words about what they were told to do. They had to take letters training that would take incredible hours and hours and hours and hard work. The benefit that I've seen is that our teachers, to their credit, have taken that hard work and put it into practice in their classrooms. What I've seen this year in their classrooms has been among the finest instruction that I've seen in 30-plus years of education. And I'm so very proud of that work, and again, embarrassed by what I was doing as an elementary teacher decades ago. Phenomenal work. And I know that our teachers in middle school and high school are going to reap the benefit of what's happening in our primary, elementary, and intermediate schools in terms of our ELA program and all of that continuous improvement. And I know that's been the work of years, and it's not brand new. Our arts program stands on its own. I have not been a part of a school system that clearly prioritizes the arts, as I've had the opportunity to attend all-county chorus concerts and all-county band concerts and all-county orchestra concerts, as I've had the opportunity to attend musicals in our schools and to see the art show at the Asheville Mall. It's absolutely incredible. Our kids have a rich, rich opportunity, and that's a credit not just to those amazing arts educators throughout our school system, but also, and I'll say it, to our commissioners who help fund arts education. You see, the state doesn't send us enough dollars for arts education locally. That has to be paid for with local dollars, and we're so very blessed in Buncombe County. And I know I use that word a lot, but it's the feeling I have. We are blessed in Buncombe County to have such a strong arts program. Where there are strengths, there are certainly opportunities. And we heard Jeremy say that when I asked, what do you love best, what should never change? The length of the answers was about a third of the length of what do we need to be working on. So we know there's a lot to be working on, and I certainly had the opportunity to hear and witness and see what that was. The first opportunity that really stands out to me is around mental health support for our young people. And that looks a lot of different ways. We've seen in our discipline data this year an increase in our aggressive behaviors. We've certainly heard that from our teachers. We've also seen an increase in referrals to our counselors and therapists. This data is accurate as of March 31st. And you can see that there have been 186 threat assessments, and that's an intense process. That's a lot of work for each one of those. There have been 301 suicide assessments in Buncombe County schools this school year as of March 31st. 322 safety plans have been developed for students. There's been 972 home and community visits going into our homes at the invitation of families to offer services. The number of our behavior improvement plans, 362 that have been created. The number of school-based mental health referrals, 592. That unfortunate number of DJJ referrals at 273. And so certainly the data is showing what teachers and others in our schools are sharing anecdotally, that there is great need for mental health support of our students, but also to support our staff members as well and our teammates. In that area of mental health support, I think this is happening because we send the best computers to the schools, which is the way it's supposed to be. In addition, in terms of opportunities, one of the ways that we're addressing those opportunities, and I certainly want to recognize this, is that in addition to our school counselors and our school social workers, our SEL coaches, our behavior specialists and behavior assistants, we're also able to partner with 4 local mental health agencies who provide, with the permission of the parent or guardian, school-based outpatient therapy, and that's so very powerful. Therapists can meet with our students individually or in groups during the school day, which takes care of transportation concerns to address a variety of concerns, including anxiety, anger management, grief support, social skill needs, and other issues as they arise. Through our agreements, every school in Buncombe County Schools has access to these services. Each of our partner agencies accepts Medicaid, North Carolina Health Choice, and a variety of private insurances. For the uninsured, agencies work to seek state funding. Now, the unfortunate thing is we don't have enough. We still have a wait list, and we need more, but we're grateful for what we have, and we'll continue to advocate for more. In terms of what we're doing to try to address this opportunity around mental health support, I'm very proud of the work, and David's here this evening. Appreciate you being here, David, who's helping us with this work. We're retired, but there are no educators who really retire. Retired Director of Student Support Services. We're working on a new Code of Student Conduct where we've paired supports with consequences, so that for every consequence there is a support, so that not only is there some sort of outcome because of the behavior, but there's a support to help children learn to not make that choice anymore, to be supported so that that support is there, and that's very important. That grows from the work of last year where the school system, working with the Hunt Institute, did some training around equity and social justice for our administrators, which is allowing us to continue to grow our ability to connect to our students' cultures, languages, and life experiences with what they learn in school. We're also working on, particularly at the request of our schools, expansion and revisioning of our alternative education services. Every single one of our middle schools and every single one of our high schools listed this as one of the greatest needs they had in the school, as I had the opportunity to meet with staff and with the leadership teams. And so after one of the first visits, I came back and met with Dr. Shane Cast, our Director of Student Support Services, and said, we got to get on this. We can't wait to the end of the 6 months. We got to get on it now. And so we've got an alternative education committee that's been meeting and doing this work. So we will have an expanded and revisioned alternative education program for middle school and high school starting in August. So that'll be in our new school year. Now, that's not a place to stick kids and forget about them. It's a place where I go learn some skills and I come back to my home school in my classroom ready to be successful in that place. And so we're really proud of that work. We have an opportunity, and one of the things that I lose sleep over is around teacher and staff retention. I mentioned how amazing our teachers and staff are. What we offer this community is our teachers and staff. And so having a fabulous faculty is us at our best. Our school system, and what I've known to be told to me, is we need to continue to advocate and passionately advocate for state salary and benefits increases, substantial increase in state-funded base pay for our teachers to reach the national average and beyond, which certainly will help us attract and retain our teachers and address some of the teacher shortages. We're advocating for reinstating advanced degree pay, master's pay for our teachers, advocating for restoring longevity pay for our teachers, advocating for restoring full retirement benefits to employees hired after January 1st, 2021, advocating to fund full-time permanent substitute teachers in each of our school buildings to help us with that substitute need. All of these passion points for the folks that I've met with over the course of my 45 days in our 45 schools. Advocating for an increase in our local supplement. We certainly, again, appreciate our partnership with our Board of County Commissioners. Authentically valuing teacher voice and leadership. I mentioned to you I was going to highlight Miss Jenny Zimmerman. I had the opportunity to sit down with her in my office, and we had this moment where she said, "Oh, you think that?" And I said, "No, you think that?" Because we were thinking the same thing at the same time, which is we need to listen to teachers. And so working together, she's been working with our district teachers of the year. They've put together a plan, so I'll have the opportunity to meet with a teacher from every single one of our schools starting in August on a regular basis, so we can make decisions as close to the classroom as possible to ensure that our teachers and staff feel authentically heard and they're leading our district. And the work to happen is the establishment of our staff leadership council as well. Each day that I visited schools, I shared with the principals, you get to decide what the day looks like. Every day was different. They created the schedule. Sometimes I was in every single classroom for a moment because there's so many classrooms. Sometimes I was in fewer classrooms for a longer period of time. It was all based on what the school leadership team and the principal decided. But I did ask for two things. One, at the end of the day, I wanted to meet with all of our teammates to have the opportunity to ask the three questions and give them the opportunity to share anything with me that they wanted to. And two, I wanted to hear from the school-based leadership team. And I asked them to share with me their data, whatever that looked like. And there were a couple of data points I wanted to hear about. But the one I was most interested in was the North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey and what the school was doing about that. So I wanted to hear, what did the teachers say are great in this school and what do we need to work on? And school, what are we doing about that? So we ensure we're doing all we can to ensure our schools are great places to teach and work. And based on our survey results, they absolutely are. There's a great opportunity around what is ESL, ELL, EL, or ML, depending on the document you're reading. Originally, it was ESL, English as a Second Language. Then it was ELL, English Language Learners. Then it was EL, English Learners. Currently, it's ML, which is multilinguistic. Regardless of what we call this group, we have students who arrive in our classrooms who cannot speak English or who speak very limited English. It's tough to learn math if I'm not sure exactly what my teacher is saying to me while she's instructing in math. This year, we've received 826 more ML or ESL students than we did last year. Last year, we had 1,541 students in the ML program. This year, we have 2,367 as of today. That number changes literally every single day as more students arrive each day, and we're not out of school yet for this year, so we know it'll grow. 486 students have qualified for newcomer services. Newcomer services, students who qualify for that are students who basically speak no English at all. And so almost 500 students have arrived in our school system this year not speaking English. As I had the opportunity to speak with one of our ESL teachers, she also pointed out that not only do many of these students have to work through not speaking English, that challenge, but they also arrive here having gone through trauma to arrive, whether that's coming from the war in the Ukraine or things that they may have gone through as they were traveling here from the country they came from. And so they also have those needs around mental health support and making sure that we're taking care of them fully. In this area, we are doing research around our newcomer support services. At one time, there was an intake center, and there was some worry about that in terms of, again, we don't want to put children away, and so we've got to figure out how to do a better job with that. Growing our dual language programs is something that's very important. It's an important offering in our school system. It's also important for students who don't speak English as a first language. It's a great entry point for them, and so growing that program is important. Advocating for additional ESL or ML faculty is also very important. We have a tremendous opportunity around school support. This current year, 22 of our 45 principals are brand new to their building. Many of them are brand new principals, and so that opportunity to coach and support our principals in this incredible work that they're doing as things are tough in 2023, as I don't need to tell you, is very important. During the current year, 13 of our schools were designated as low performing. Based on what I saw in the classrooms, I see that number going way down, if not to zero, at the end of this year, and I'm very proud of that. Around that opportunity for school support, we're working on developing and continuing our ongoing leadership development for our current administrators and those who aspire to serve as administrators. Working on a succession plan to identify, grow, and develop future leaders, so those who might say that one day I'd like to be a principal, making sure we're doing a great job with training them. In addition, establishing a position of Assistant Superintendent of Educational Equity and Student Support Services. This position is going to work directly around making sure that we don't have disproportionate representation of certain groups of students within our discipline data, that we're addressing achievement gaps by working very closely, tying together our student support services and our work in curriculum and instruction to ensure that every single one of our students reaches the moment that I shared at every single school, the moment being when they receive their high school diploma that they earned because we don't give them away, and they take that next step prepared for a successful life. And sure, we want to make sure we're doing all we can to make sure every student reaches that. There's an opportunity around enrollment. You've heard that our enrollment has been declining for about the last 6 years. This is our month-to-month enrollment. As of month 7, which we've just finished up, we had 21,772 students. That number is down a little bit in spring semester after our early graduates graduate. But looking a little closer to the last 3 years, one of the things that I'm real excited about is that for the last 4 months, month over month, looking at the last 3 years, we're actually ahead and continuing to gain. And so we very much appreciate that. We're trying to do our very best to tell our story, which is why it was so important for our communications department to take all those pictures of our students and our teachers. Took too many pictures of me, but all those pictures were important because we want to make sure the community knows what an incredible school system, a public school system they have right here in Buncombe County. That opportunity to make sure they know what's available, we hope will continue to grow our enrollment. So in terms of next steps, as we go forward into the final phase, phase 4 and beyond, we'll be working on our efforts to launch our new strategic plan. which will include each of our staff members throughout the district, not only in the survey that you've already taken and will take, but in their voices. Community town halls won't go away. It won't be a one-time thing. I look forward to being in each of our districts and allowing folks to come in and say, here's what I think, here are my concerns, my comments, here are my questions, and here are my compliments. Our Teacher Advisory Council, I've mentioned, our Staff Advisory Council for our classified staff. Our Student Advisory Council, we've had in existence, and we had 2 meetings this year, which were great. We want to grow that so these amazing young people have the opportunity to help lead the school system that they love so much. This advocacy work is something I'm very passionate about, advocating for our students, our teachers, our staff, our administrators, and our families is absolutely me at some of my best because I love telling the story of all I witness in our classrooms. And so now, having had the incredible blessing in our classrooms in 45 schools, I just want to say thank you. As teachers invited me into their classroom, as they allowed me to sit on the carpet, as one teacher here at Nesbitt allowed me the opportunity to race against another student performing advanced calculus problems when I didn't understand the words she was using. I just want to say thank you. To our Board of Education, thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend the time in our schools. And to our Central Services team, who've been answering the phones and minding the shop while I've been in the schools, to our assistant superintendents and our cabinet, I want to say thank you as well. Madam Chair, this concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. That is our superintendent of Buncombe County Schools, let me just say. Thank you very much. We appreciate your first 100 days and hope there are many more. At this time, I believe we're going to take about a 10-minute break. I guess I should have told Josh. We are now going to resume our agenda, and it's time for public comment, and we'll hear from our attorney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a reminder to the public, speakers will be called in the order in which they signed up to speak. All speakers will have precisely 3 minutes to speak and must adhere to the guidelines that are set forth in Buncombe County Policy 2310, Public Participation, including all reasonable rules established by the superintendent. Profane language, making threats, or revealing confidential student or staff information will not be allowed during public comment. Please address the board as a whole, and please note that the board will not be able to respond directly to you during your public comments.
Having heard that, yes.
Madam Chair, there are 21 public comments tonight. The first speaker is Kim Martin.
We ask that you take the stand, you'd give us your name and tell us where you're from. At that time, your 3 minutes will begin.
Can I move this down?
There you go.
Thank you. Guess I should turn this right side up. Hello, Superintendent Jackson and Buncombe County School Board members. My name is Kim Martin. I am from Asheville. I am the lead sign language interpreter for Buncombe County Schools. And I work all over the county. I have worked for Buncombe County Schools since 2004. I am speaking tonight about a pay increase for all BCS staff, but I would like to speak specifically about interpreting staff. I just want to say, before I found out this afternoon that we have 3 minutes, I had 12 pages of notes, and I thought my 12 pages were concise. And so I'm very proud of this one page that I have that will take me 2 minutes. Like all interpreting staff, I have a degree in American Sign Language interpreting and have taken and passed the Educational Interpreters Performance Assessment, both of which are required to work in the school system. I am a member of my professional interpreting organization at the national, state, and local level, volunteering at the local level for over 10 years. I am a member of the North Carolina Association of Educators and have over 23 years of experience as an American Sign Language interpreter. Even after our classified staff raise last year, I now make $19 an hour. Such a low rate of pay means BCS is not able to hire or retain qualified sign language interpreters. Consequently, to remain in compliance, we must hire multiple contract interpreters daily. Annually, BCS pays upwards of $100,000 over 9 months' time for one contract interpreter. We could raise all BCS staff interpreters' pay to the national average of $25 an hour. We could hire 2 staff interpreters additionally and still save BCS thousands of dollars a month. We all know that the cost of living in Asheville and surrounding areas is the highest in the state, while our pay is among the lowest in the nation. I have raised 4 children while working for BCS full-time and supplemented my income by working literally dozens of other jobs, including which is renting out every empty bedroom in my house, as well as relying on local food banks to feed my children. I think it's important to point out also that many deaf students who are mainstreamed will graduate high school with a 3rd grade reading level. Clearly, our deaf and hard of hearing students deserve better.
Thank you.
Next is Tate McQueen. And a quick note, there's a timer right there on the dais beside
Right in
Mr.
front of
Elliott.
Mr. Elliott.
Just to help you out.
All right. Well, thank you. My name is Tate McQueen. I'm a teacher at Irwin High School. Madam Chair, Dr. Jackson, board, commissioners, Mr. Whiteside. I had something planned to say, and then I changed gears when I heard you use some very important words like legacy. And then I thought, you're a product of a legacy, and your teacher was here. She was a legacy maker. And then you made a legacy with Mr. Alexander. And I wanted you all to think about what your legacy is going to be when you're finished. Just as I know the legacies of my peers and what they've done to affect the lives of their students, year in, year out, day in, day out. And our jobs have gotten harder, not easier. And when I was first teaching, I was in Henderson County and I was coaching and I loved it. But I kept hearing people tell me, you need to get to Buncombe County. And one of the things they said was the supplement. They really show how much they appreciate you. Because one of the things that I've tried to do with my own legacy with my children is to talk to them about, it's important to hear the words thanks. It does mean something. But I also tell them seeing thanks means more than hearing thanks. And I'm going to ask you guys to think about your legacy just as we think about ours with how you can show us thanks. 7% increase for the supplement and an across-the-board classified staff living wage increase. When I was at East Henderson, I coached with a guy named David Martin. We built a program. I got over to Owen. I'm really proud of the work we did in the classroom, but also on the field. David Feist, who was assisting with me, went on to become head coach, and we built a program. And I'm so proud of Davis and the Warhorses under Trey Morrison getting that state championship. I'm really proud of Owen, even though I'm at Irwin, because I feel like I have a little bit of a piece of that legacy. And I wouldn't be here without the legacy makers, my teachers, my coaches. And I never thought that we'd get to a position where we are literally begging. I cannot top what I just heard from Ms. Martin talking about being so vital to our system and having to go to a food bank. And what that must feel like to say that out loud. But man, does that show the fortitude that we represent in our classrooms, understanding the challenges that we see every day with the students that we serve, the families that we serve, and then we somehow put ourselves on the back burner and don't acknowledge the challenges that we face. And Mr. Whiteside, you have a legacy on the board, and your life has been a magical legacy with your work in civil rights and what you did in the Asheville community to desegregate schools. And yet your legacy is not complete. We're going to show up on June 6th, and we're going to make the same impassioned plea. Take care of us the way we take care of the students we serve, and understand that we understand that while we serve you, you serve us.
Thank you.
Abby Hessling.
Good evening, and thanks for having us here tonight. I was here, my name is Abby Hessling, and I'm from Irwin High School. I teach at Irwin High School, and I live in Buncombe County. I was here last month at the meeting talking to you all about the need for the increase in our supplemental pay. I think the presentation we heard earlier was pretty powerful as far as the great voice of our community echoing those pleas. But tonight I want to talk to you about the classified staff and about making sure that they get a living wage. Many of them I spoke to in my school in this coming week, or in this past week, asking them to come tonight to speak for the need to make a living wage. Unfortunately, they could not come because they are working their second job tonight. One of my dear friends is an administrative assistant, and she works 3 other jobs in addition to that, as well as go to grad school because she realizes she cannot stay as an administrative assistant in the public schools. When she began working in Buncombe County, her husband already had a very established career as a carpenter here in Asheville, and they have tried multiple times to get a loan to buy a house, and they do not qualify on the salary she makes here at Buncombe County Schools. She cannot get a mortgage, and she cannot afford rent in the increasing cost of the housing market here in Asheville. And these people that are not being paid a living wage are doing some of the toughest jobs in our schools, They're the ones who make it possible for us to teach and be in the classroom while they tend to the toiletry needs of our students. They do the interpreting. They care for our staff students in the preschools. They provide one-on-one services that allow our most vulnerable students to be in the classroom. They drive our buses. They are our custodians, our child nutrition staff, and our administrative assistants. And all of these people could be making better money in the private sector, but we rely on them to run our schools every single day, and we need them there. Our students deserve professionals who can afford to make this their career. We heard a couple of people speak tonight about their calling and about the legacy that they want to have here in Buncombe County. And they just want to be able to afford to live so that they can do that work and so that they can reach their calling. So thank you for your time. We ask you to bring the classified staff up to a living wage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caitlin Johnson.
Good evening, Dr. Jackson, Madam Chair, members of the board, commissioners. I am here tonight on behalf of my colleagues, and in particular, I really want to speak up for our classified staff. Early childhood education is a passion of mine. I've been at Irwin High School teaching early childhood for the last 10 years, and I know, especially at the last board meeting, there was a lot of discussion around our programs, and I really want to emphasize that we use the word preschool teacher. We talk about our preschools, but our preschool teachers are classified staff. I feel that they need to be paid in a way that they can live in our communities as they are with our youngest learners at a time when we know is one of the most influential for brain development. So I appreciate it, Dr. Jackson, when you refer to our system as pre-K, when we start with that, that's really important to hear. So thank you. I also want to acknowledge some of our teachers in our community who want to be here, but at no fault to their own or things out of their control will not allow them to stay in our community, particularly some of our dual language teachers. Dr. Jackson, when you visited our school, something that you said really resonated with me, and it was about when we hear things like, we can't do that, and you were referring to transportation when it came to bringing meals to children during COVID, and that really stuck with me. And my understanding is that when it comes to dual language and some of our world language teachers, we contract out. That contracted business handles visas. And while I know it's a very complicated process, it is my understanding that a school system could offer a visa, but it would come with a high price tag. However, I am aware that we have teachers and employees who have been willing to pay that. And that would allow them a different type of visa, which would allow more permanency in the position that they're in. And after a set amount of time, that pathway could even lead to citizenship. Some of the dual language teachers that I have met have been some of the most incredible teachers that I have worked with, particularly some of the teachers at West Buncombe Elementary School. And so I wanted to add that I am an Asheville City resident. I work for Buncombe County Schools, and I choose to send my child to Buncombe County Schools instead of Asheville City because it's a great program. I'm really proud of the Irwin District. I'm really proud of West Buncombe Elementary School, and I am incredibly proud of the teachers over there. And so I just wanted to make sure that they were represented here tonight. Thank you for your time.
Maureen Smathers.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Smathers. I work in the technology department. I was born in St. Joseph's, the old St. Joseph's Hospital, born and raised Asheville, and now live in Leicester. I am trying to do like everybody else. We need the pay. We desperately need the pay. my teammate, almost a year ago, she had 16 years of employment with Buncombe County Schools, and she got her first raise. It was 26 cents. That was her first raise. All of our departments are, I think, are concerned about, yet again, losing employees because the pay is low. They come in, they get trained, they go find another job where they're getting more pay. So also with the low pay, you know, someone else mentioned someone's trying to just buy land to build a house. I know people work for Buncombe County Schools that are living in family homes. In other words, their mother, father, their aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa have a spare home, and that's the only way they can move out of the house. They can't afford to go rent a one-bedroom, one-bath apartment. It's just so expensive. So as everybody else said, I'm politely begging, please take consideration into this. Please, we beg you. Thank you all for your consideration, and have a wonderful evening.
Elizabeth Green. Shanna Pill.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Jackson, county commissioners, and colleagues. My name is Shanna Peel, and I'm a special education teacher in Buncombe County Schools, as well as a parent of a BCS student. I want to thank everyone here for their hard work and dedication to our students and staff. As educators, our professional standards for our occupation include that we demonstrate leadership in our school, in our profession, in our ethics, and through advocacy. I have noticed this board takes a great effort to demonstrate leadership in those areas. In particular, I am excited by the advocacy this board is doing through the resolutions adopted this year and the legislative agenda on the docket tonight. Thank you for standing up for what is right by our students and staff. Our community deserves schools that have the resources needed to serve all students regardless of background or zip code. I do want to reiterate what you have heard from countless staff across Buncombe County Schools. What you have received tonight is another copy of our petition from over 1,100 Buncombe County School staff and almost 700 parents and community allies asking for a living wage for all classified staff, a raise in the supplement, the preservation of student-facing positions funded by ESSER dollars, and the formation of an advisory council for EC and student support services, so that our staff who work with these populations every day have a voice in the decision-making and problem-solving. As someone who struggles on our salary, I implore you to consider our petition tonight. We must ask our county commission for these funds. We don't get what we don't ask for. Option 3 for the budget proposal would give us a needed raise in the supplement to recover some of the pay we've lost, as the cost of living has increased and our salary hasn't over the years. I ask that you consider also raising the classified staff supplement substantially more than what is listed in option 3, so that our lowest paid staff in the district have the decency of making a living wage of $20.10 an hour. One full-time job should be enough for a person to live on. Again, I thank you for your time and devotion to the task at hand, and I ask you to vote tonight for a living wage for all.
Christina Horton.
Hello, I'm Christina Horton, and I live in Candler. I'm also a third grade teacher in Buncombe County Schools. First of all, thank you, board members and Dr. Jackson, for your service, your work on behalf of the students of Buncombe County. I really liked a lot of what Dr. Jackson said today about how to make our schools great. Tonight, I speak out of concern for the future of Buncombe County schools. I've taught for 21 years and in 3 different school districts in North Carolina. I've never felt as much damage to a school due to high teacher turnover and unfulfilled staff positions as I have this year at my school, Hall Creek Elementary. In November, my class size increased by 1/4 when a third grade teacher was moved to fill an unfulfilled 5th grade position. This negatively affected my students because they did not receive as much individual attention. That 5th grade position, by the way, had been changed 4 times by October. Right now, there's an unfulfilled Title I position at our school. This position serves those students most in need of reading support. Some students in my class are not getting what they need in reading support. They're not getting the small group reading support that they qualify for. My students, our students, deserve better. I fear that if Buncombe County does not do all that it can to attract and to retain school staff, the quality of education in our county will decline. Pay is a big factor in attracting and keeping staff. I ask that you increase certified staff pay by 7% and pay classified staff a living wage. Board members, Dr. Jackson, I hope you see that the success of our schools is dependent upon a fully staffed and stable workforce. Please ask for the funds we need for that to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Lunsford.
My name is Amy Lunsford, and I have taught at Woodfin Elementary for the past 12 years. So as a proud school librarian, I want to share a story with you. Next week will be one of my favorite days in the whole school year. It's the graduating seniors walk. It's a day when the 12th graders come back to their elementary school and the current elementary students line the hallways and cheer and celebrate these former students. It's a great day for everyone. Last year, I stood in the hallway, and as the students came upstairs, one senior locked eyes with me. He jumped out of line and yelled, "Miss Lunsford!" And as he ran down the hall to me, he grabs me in a bear hug, this 6-foot-tall, muscular, bearded, tattooed man. And he whispers in my ear, "I made it. I made it." I recall gazing in his face and telling him, "I am so proud of you." I had not seen this student since he left Woodfin as a 9 or 10-year-old boy, literally half his lifetime ago. But I know from working at Woodfin for 12 years, this particular student went through a lot of trauma. And I also know growing up in the Irwin district, which is not as affluent as other districts, he encountered a lot of struggles to get to graduation. Now here's the next chapter of this story that's going to break your heart. This school year and the ones going forward, if a graduating senior comes to my school or any other BCS school looking for staff to affirm, "I made it," they may not find any adults they know. Picture that student's face as they gaze about, searching for a teacher they know to celebrate with them. Right now, staff from the classroom to the office to the cafeteria to that bus outside are evaluating if they want to still work for BCS or even stay in the education field because of the low pay and the working conditions. When Dr. Jackson visited the schools, he referred to us as teammates, working together to educate our children. That really spoke to me as I try to be the best teammate possible. As a media specialist, I have my master's degree and serve on numerous committees. I've been Teacher of the Year at my school, and in December, I achieved my national board certification. I am good at what I do because I have worked hard and strived to be the best for my students. I want to stay on the BCS team, but it is getting harder and harder as our pay stagnates compared to other counties and the Asheville City school system. As board members, you are on the BCS team. You can advocate locally and at the state level for
Thank you.
Elliot Lunsford.
My name is Elliot Lunsford. This is my 16th year.
Okay, now,
Okay, thank you.
we want you to get your 3 minutes.
Yeah. My name is Elliot Lunsford. This is my 16th year teaching math at Owen High School. I have 2 fourth graders at Woodfin Elementary, and I live in the Reynolds District. BCS teachers received this kit designed to help them in the event of a life-threatening emergency when we received our Stop the Bleed training. I am here tonight to ask you to stop the bleed when it comes to our Buncombe County staff. One of my coworkers and best friends is leaving the teaching profession at the end of this school year. He has taught for 10 years and is a great teacher. Let me tell you what losing this one teacher means to our students. Our students are losing someone who knows the math that he teaches at a high level. He knows the curriculum, has engaged in years of professional development, and holds his students to high expectations. Our students are losing the club sponsor for 3 different clubs at our school. One parent thanked him because her son has been able to come out of his shell and find himself because of him. Our students are losing someone who values different cultures by displaying on his classroom walls the flags of countries represented by his students. Our students are losing someone who cares about them and makes them laugh daily. Every year at graduation, I see at least 2 or 3 students come up to hug him and thank him for what he's done for them. Our students are losing an experienced member of our Safe Schools team and a U.S. military veteran. In the event of a life-threatening emergency, I am certain this teacher would run towards danger and not away from it. This person is just one instance of a teacher leaving Buncombe County schools this year. More are leaving or are considering it. There are other districts, other states, and other jobs that pay more. Parents and community members should be outraged that Buncombe County is losing highly qualified teachers such as my colleague who make such a big impact for our kids. Our teachers are looking to this board to see whether you are taking actions to keep us here serving our students or whether you just shrug, stay silent, and hope the bleeding stops on its own. Now is the time for this board to act. Your budget should be asking our county commissioners for a significant raise to our local supplement to keep these teachers from seeking employment elsewhere. This board should be questioning the numbers and questioning why Buncombe County chooses not to pay its teachers as much as other districts in the state. This board should be questioning what plan is in place to hire and retain quality educators. You can't completely reverse the actions over the last decade of a state legislature that has sought to hinder and defund a quality public education for our students, but you can stop the bleeding that we're experiencing right here. Be bold. Our students need and deserve quality educators, and our teachers need a board willing to stand with them. Thank you.
Macy Brown.
Hi, everyone. I'm Macy Brown. I currently work at Owen High, and I live in Asheville. So I'm here to talk about the position cuts that are happening at the schools across Buncombe County. It hurts to hear about the teacher shortage and then know that positions are being cut, and I'm here to speak about that because I am one of those positions in this county. And I'm not only speaking about this as someone who is being affected by these cuts, but I'm here to speak to you about those who matter most, and that's our students. I jumped into this job in December of 2022. I became an interim for an English teacher the day after completing my student teaching. It was a difficult transition. I came into a classroom of students who had a rocky semester, and they all thought they were going to fail. I was brand new, I was scared, and I cried a lot, but I quickly fell in love with my job because of my students. I had students who wanted to talk to me, to tell me their stories, students who wanted someone who cared about them and would listen. Students spend so much of their time at school, and with the second pandemic of suicide rates on the rise in America's youth, it is crucial they have people they feel supported by. My love for my job only increased in the spring semester when I quickly bonded with my classes. I know I'm new to this, but I truly feel like I gained over 60 kids. I love my students and I love my job. I want to be here in Buncombe County helping the kids and families who need dedicated teachers for years to come. I urge you to think of the new teachers who already have people giving them disgusted reactions when they tell them what they do for a living. I urge you to commit to using permanent local funds to continue funding all positions currently funded through temporary federal COVID relief funds or state money. Please do not discourage new teachers. We need teachers, so please support them. We want to be here and we're passionate about what we do. But with position cuts, you're only putting more weights on people who are drowning. Let's do better. Let's strive to be on the level of other counties in North Carolina where teachers feel supported and can provide students with learning experiences they deserve. Don't let us down. And please listen to the voices present today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jan Blunt.
Good evening, Superintendent Jackson, Madam Chair, members of the board, esteemed educators, staff, parents, and members of the community. My name is Jan Blunt. I live in Fletcher, Buncombe. I'm a former Buncombe County Schools employee 9 years ago. And for the past 6 years, I've been a realtor in Buncombe County. And it's that hat that I'd like to wear tonight. I'm going to ask you, board members, county commissioners, that you need to look at your local supplement with the housing market here in mind. A number of people have referenced that tonight. I've got firsthand knowledge, as does Ms. Simpkins, about what that really looks like when you're working with teachers and learning assistants and even principals, guidance counselors, as I have over the past 6 years. You really come to see the burden that's put on people, not only when they're buying a home, but when they're paying their property taxes. Mine went up 35% this past reassessment. I don't know about yours. Made a pretty big difference in my mortgage payment. Did you know that rent has gone up 25% just last year? Last year, 25%. What's the impact on a person's budget when that happens? Try to find a house. A number of you have referenced that this evening. As Ms. Simpkins and I can tell you, our buyer clients are looking at having to pay way over the list price for a house just to get in the running. Chances are, if they have to get a loan, as most of the educators I know do, they're not even going to have a prayer because we have so many people from outside our community coming here with cash to buy whatever they want. That's not the case for most of the educators. So when you're looking at your local supplement comparisons, and I know you've been looking at them, I've looked at the numbers and I understand the numbers. You cannot compare what is happening in other parts of our state when we're the ones here in Buncombe County where prices keep going up. Did you see the paper yesterday? I did. We're now at the median price, that's the middle, not an average, the middle price in Buncombe County is $427,000. In Asheville, it's $465,000 in the middle. Who can afford that? Not the people working at Buncombe County schools. So please keep that in mind as you're thinking about asking for local supplement money. These guys really need it. Thank you.
David Honey.
I'm David Honey. I teach and coach at Reynolds High School. I'm going to go off script just a second here at the beginning briefly and acknowledge, although they're not here at this point, but the athletes and coaches who were recognized for the indoor track state championships earlier tonight. I had the privilege of announcing meets and seeing those boys from Owen beat all of the bigger schools multiple times this spring. Last night, I got the opportunity to announce as the North Buncombe girls put up the fastest 3A time in the state in the 4x800 relay to start off our meet. They're really outstanding athletes and kids. And competing against them, I can tell you just how great those coaches are. I can also tell you that like all the coaches for indoor track in Buncombe County, and unlike almost every other system that we compete with, they weren't paid for indoor track this year or ever by Buncombe County schools. But I do get paid by BCS over $7,000 last year for my teaching supplement. That's more than most of our teachers get. It's also $2,004 less than I would have made as a teaching supplement from the Asheville City schools. That doesn't count the 7% increase that their school board just requested. It's $4,350 less than it would be in New Hanover County. But I'm really not here to talk about my pay. Honestly, I'm doing okay. I've got 22 years on my teaching license. I have a master's degree that I actually get paid for. I already own a house in Buncombe County with a ludicrously low interest rate. All of our new teachers can't say any of those things. They face needing 2 or 3 roommates just to be able to afford a place to sleep in this county. Many of them have to look at a decision of whether they want to leave Asheville or leave teaching. These new teachers not only have less experience, it puts them lower on the state pay scale, but they don't get master's pay. They're not eligible to apply for national board certification. Their state pay may be $15,000 or $20,000 less than mid-career teachers. They would make less in supplement even if we had the same percentage for everyone, but we don't. We pay them a lower percentage of that lower base. For most BCS teachers, our supplement compares unfavorably to the 10 districts that employ more teachers than we do. If you compare a teacher with the same amount of experience and the same licensure. But it's even worse for our beginning teachers. A first-year teacher in BCS gets $3,145 in supplement this year. That's less than half what they would make in Forsyth, Durham, Wake, or Mecklenburg counties. New Hanover and Guilford are even higher, where no teacher makes less than $7,000 in local supplement. We're asking for every teacher in the county, but please, we have to do something for our newest teachers to bridge that gap that they have right now.
Thank you.
Lissa Pedersen.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lissa Pedersen. I've been teaching here in Buncombe County for 12 years, and I do have my master's degree. I do get paid for it, thankfully. The state doesn't pay new hires for their masters. I have my national boards, and I'm approaching 15 years of teaching on my license. I'm at the very top of the chain. Side note, state does not pay people from 15 years to 25 years zero. They get zero amount extra from 15 to 25 years. So I'm at it. I'm there. I'm it. 10 years. So it's very painful. I'm at the height of my salary here in Buncombe County schools. And yet, a comparable teacher in New Hanover makes $2,000 more a year than me. A comparable teacher in Durham County makes nearly $4,000 more than me. And how is that? The state is so low. We recognize this. But each local school system can give a supplement to fill in some, not all, but some of those gaps. And we know that living in Asheville and Buncombe County is the most expensive place to live in North Carolina. So how do we get more? How do we address this high cost of living to live here for all our classified and certified personnel in the schools? Dr. Jackson has proposed one of the options to give a living wage for our classified. I can do it, I'm a teacher. So what we're asking is for the option number 3. We want for our board to listen to the people here, for Dr. Jackson, give us our 7%. Give us a cost of living adjustment so people can live here for what we're worth. Asheville Board of Education said yes to this. They are proposing to our county commissioners that they get a living wage for all people who work in the school, 7% differential for all teachers. And because I know many teachers leaving. I talked to 2 veteran teachers, 15 years plus, who are leaving Buncombe County to go to Asheville. And when I asked them why, they said, because we know that Board of Ed has our back. That's what they told me. I know someone who came to Buncombe County from Hendersonville. She's an aide, and she says that she came from Hendersonville, and she said that it's a training ground, and people always knew to go to Buncombe County next because they paid more. We don't want us to be a training ground for Asheville City Schools, because I've been here for 12 years because I believe in this system. And it's not about, some people say we should decouple, working for schools. We should do it for passion. Of course we have passion. I'm a completely passionate teacher. We work so hard. We already do that. We have this passion. We go above and beyond for our kids. But when I'm working 10 and 12-hour days and I'm usually supported by my joy, I need to be able, and I'm gonna go over this because my light went off. I went over because when I get home after working 10 and 12 hours and I find out that I have a dental problem that I have to take care of for my child, or I have to take care of my car, and I break down in tears because I work so hard for the school system and I need to be supported. Be on our team.
Joan Hoffman.
Good evening. I'm Joan Hoffman. I also teach with Coach Honey. I teach technical education at AC Reynolds High School. And I would like to extend my gratitude to each of you this evening for considering this salary and supplement raises for all of our most deserving employees. I am finishing year 17 here in Buncombe County Schools. I have a master's degree in secondary education. I am a proud National Board Certified teacher for the last 12 years. And if I were working in Durham, my salary would be $3,379 more, right? My friend Christine, she just moved here from Wake County. She makes $600 less per paycheck to come work in Buncombe County. That's a travesty, right? Several of my friends have 3 roommates so that they can be teachers in Buncombe County, right? 2 of my friends have recently posted on Facebook asking for someone to donate them a car. How is that possible? They couldn't even qualify to purchase a car. It's despicable. Additionally, by skipping to the 3rd level, which I'm super excited you're talking about, to raise classified wages and hoping that the state comes through with 4.25%, that would bring our lowest paid employee to only $17.31, far below the living wage for a single person. I am here to urge you to take action to vote for option 3 for all employees and raise a stat supplement, but I'm gonna ask you something radical here tonight. That would just bring us to $18.40 for those lowest paid people. I would ask that you make an amendment to raise those classified people to at least 10%, right? That still doesn't get them to a living wage, but it gives them dignity to move towards it. 7% isn't enough for the lowest paid people here. It is not. It will certainly, help us to consider this evening, to vote for the 7%, but please consider an amendment to raise those classified people to something that will get even close to $18, $19. I think that we really need to do that. I cried tonight listening to people. I have chills tonight listening to these people. And it's just astounding as a human to think about that I'm here begging for someone to not have to ask someone to give them a car, that they want to get a loan to buy a home, that we want to be paid a living wage. And I had 4 roommates in college. I don't want to go back to that, right? You know? Now I got 4 roommates. I got a husband and 2 kids, but that's a different story. So please do the right thing tonight. Let's please vote for.
Thank you.
Michelle Aldridge.
Hi, good evening. It's good to see you all again. I was here in October. I am Michelle Aldridge. I am a Haw Creek parent, and I'm really active in our PTA, and our family's been really involved. We've been officers are involved for multiple years. Tomorrow, we have the talent show, but tonight we're here. So thank you. At that time, I came to say teacher turnover is really harming our kids, and I appreciate the work that you all did to step up and meet that moment. The year has improved for us, and we're beyond grateful. But that's a Band-Aid on what I see as a much deeper crisis that's happening in our schools. And you know, just looking at Haw Creek alone, when I think about the teacher turnover and the teachers that have gone on to take career breaks, to move to new states, to continue teaching work in new states where they would be paid more, and then just the total number that are leaving for new careers, finding that they can't make ends meet. That has a huge impact. And also the families that left because they couldn't feel the support with not having all of the counselor support and all of the different things that they needed for that behavior and intervention. So, but I'm not really here tonight only on behalf of Haw Creek. I know a 3rd grader who wants to be a teacher when she grows up. And when she shares that, people are saying, well, that's really great, sweetie, but you know, you have a lot of choices. You don't have to make that decision just yet. And what a horrible thing for that 3rd grader to hear, right? Because in the back of their mind, those people are thinking, well, you could make more money at Sonic or something down the street. So I think of her tonight and knowing that we have a chance as a community, and I know that you all support teachers, and I know that you support staff, but I wanted you to know that it's not just teachers, it's parents that support these changes too. So I came today to support teachers and educators, to know that parents stand with these folks in increasing salaries and providing support, especially social workers and counselors, to make our whole school system better. And I came to make sure that the county commissioners here, that you have parents standing with you as you make this decision tonight, that as taxpayers and as voters, there are plenty of constituents who support more funding going to schools, even if it means you have to raise our taxes. Voters stand with you.
Lee Ann Smith.
Good evening, Superintendent Jackson, Madam Chair, esteemed board members and commissioners. I'm Leanne Smith. I am librarian, media specialist at Glenarden Elementary. As already emphasized here tonight, you know that our salaries over the past several years have certainly not kept pace with the cost of living here. It actually feels as though my pay has been cut. And we all know of excellent educators who have been forced to give up on their dream of educating Buncombe County's youth. I love what I do, and I hope to be able to continue in my calling. But I don't want to talk about myself. I'm here tonight with Glenarden's front desk receptionist, who with all due respect to you, Dr. Jackson, is not going to let you through our front door unless you show her your badge. In addition to her many duties and responsibilities, she watches over our staff and students like a mama bear, and she would be the first to take a bullet. Unfortunately, I don't mean that figuratively. And she would do so for anyone in our school. I'm also here with one of our third grade instructional assistants who, in addition to her many other responsibilities, calls car duty every afternoon outside in all kinds of weather. On a day that unexpectedly delivered a windy 40-degree rain, she put on a black garbage bag and went out and did her job. Let me be clear. We are not asking for charity or a handout. We are requesting compensation to better reflect the dedicated, hardworking professionals that we are. The data presented by your own team tonight supports this. I therefore ask that you approve BCAE's requested increases. Thank you very much.
Mark Sternal.
Good evening. My name is Mark Sternal, and I am a parent of a fourth grader at Sandhill Elementary, and I live in Candler. Next week, I'll be a member of the Enka District Parent Advisory Council, so I get to come back to this building, I think. I'd like to thank the teachers, the administrators, and the staff for your passion and for all that you do for our community. So when we were going through the process of choosing a school, my wife and I, we looked at all the charter schools, we looked at the private schools, we even looked at Asheville City schools, but ultimately we went with Buncombe County schools, and I am so happy we did. Sandhill is a Title I school, and the benefits of the iPads, the laptops, all the other digital learning tools like Lexia, Dreambox, MobiMax, those were amazing tools to have during COVID, when all of a sudden I became a teacher. Recently, we were facing some new things, which is the possibility that our kid is on the dyslexia spectrum, which when I was a kid growing up, dyslexia meant the letters were backwards, but turns out there's a whole spectrum out there. So 1 in 5 kids is on this. 20% of all of our kids could have dyslexia. The team at Sandhill and Buncombe County have been amazing. They've what they brought to the table. His teacher, Jim McKernan, the foundation's tutors, speech therapist, Misty Rice, the private tutoring that we've paid for. If we wouldn't have received all this help and love, I'm not sure what we would have done. I have 2 recommendations tonight. Hire a really good marketing team to tell this story and these stories so that we can reverse the trend that Dr. Jackson pointed out with people leaving our schools to go to these charter schools and taking these funds and siphoning these funds away from our public schools. And my second recommendation as a taxpayer and a voter is, and somebody who runs in many Subway sandwich shops and pays my staff more than $20 an hour, that's for Subway, by the way, pay them all.
Christina Mason.
Hi, my name is Christina Mason, and I'm a resident of West Asheville and a taxpayer in Buncombe County. I'm the parent of a kindergartner named Henry, Last week, I joined NCAE and committed to speak tonight, and I really hate public speaking. But I'm before you tonight because as a parent, I can see our public schools are at their breaking point. I'm committed to public school, and I even have the t-shirt to prove it. But I feel like at some point I will have to ask if I'm gonna let my son go down with a sinking ship or if we're gonna bail on public school altogether. And that is heartbreaking. And I'm the outrage that someone else was talking about earlier. What I see is that public schools have been running on skeleton crews since the pandemic, and teachers and staff are massively overworked. There are fewer of them and a lot more student behavior and learning challenges. The caseloads of EC teachers are overwhelming, and the lack of support staff is affecting the quality of education that our kids are getting. Buses can't run because there aren't enough drivers. I mean, I could go on. And this is largely because Asheville has fallen behind in local funding compared to other urban areas in North Carolina. We have the highest cost of living, and classified staff and first-year teachers aren't even making a living wage. And it's not like $20 an hour is some cushy lifestyle. We're talking about groceries, rent, gas, utilities, paying your co-pays at the doctor. Experienced teachers are leaving because they're exhausted and they feel unappreciated and undervalued. And charters and other school districts pay better, or their pay just goes further there in other counties. You can't raise a family on these wages, and I am ashamed when I hear teachers say that they need to be in line for food assistance. Almost no one takes summer off anymore because they're all working to make ends meet. When I think about keeping Henry in public school, here's my nightmare scenario. We keep hemorrhaging our talented, experienced public school teachers and staff. It becomes harder to attract and keep good employees. Performance and testing start suffering. Student behavior gets out of control, and then the schools are becoming unsafe. We neglect routine maintenance, and our buildings fall apart. We get by on the bare minimum. We're just surviving. And the North Carolina legislature keeps giving out handouts to private and charter schools. In the not too distant future, public school could become the worst option. The parents who can pull their kids out might do that. You can't count on families to stick with public schools if you won't fund them adequately. I urge you to make the big ask and to work with the commission to ensure that our students and school staff receive the resources that they need to succeed. We can't bail out the boat using teaspoons. Propose a budget that includes a 7% raise for certified staff. Bring classified staff up to a living wage. I've talked to the commissioners and a lot of them back it, so please just ask for it. Our kids can't wait, our schools can't wait. It'll be way more costly in the long run to try to rebuild our schools versus funding them fully now. I wanted to leave you with a picture of my son. He was at the teacher rally, and his sign says, "Teachers are the best. Hate them."
Phil Harden.
Thought I was going to make it. I'm Phil Harden. I'm a resident of Buncombe County. I'm a retired community college instructor. I was a substitute for 6 years at North Buncombe. A gentleman reminded me, knowledge is power, right? I want to talk about a different issue. When going to a classroom, I would always get a lesson plan was well developed, easy to follow, and easy to implement. When that last bell rang and everyone had to be in their position, it was game on. For 90 minutes, game on. And the last 7 to 5 minutes, you have to put your books away, put everything in your backpack, take a little break, and wait for the bell to go to the next game on. And I never saw anything different in any class in 6 years, every time. So now, if you take that period of instruction, let's say it's a gallon bucket, and a gallon bucket's full of lemonade or iced tea. Take your big old grapefruit, and you put that grapefruit in that gallon bucket full of lemonade and iced tea that represents that instructional block. You're going to lose that instructional time. Because if that stone represents something other than what needs to be presented for academic performance, then your academic results are going to change. And there are individuals who want to come in and influence what's being taught in the classroom that is not relevant to academic performance. Parents care about three things. They care about safety, they care about discipline, and they want their child, their young adult, to be exposed to the highest measure of academic instructions. We have that here. You saw me last month here, and I made 2 points, and they're true. I'm speaking to you as a substitute. It was a great job. It was a lot of fun. But there are ominous clouds that want to influence the instructional programming in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha Gallman.
Hi, I'm Samantha Gallman. I think I've been working in Buncombe County Schools for 26 years, but I try to be one of those people that doesn't count the years, makes the years count. So, people keep expecting me or thinking I might retire, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But in any case, let me see what I can add new to the conversation. You've heard about the staff and how they need to be at a living wage. Absolutely. I came tonight specifically to speak for the staff members that I work with who aren't here tonight because they are working that second or third job. And they're already nervous about the summer, where they have to make ends meet during the summer because there's no way to save any money to survive the summer months where you receive no pay. I'm in that ball game as well as a single parent, as a single mom. Summers have never been off. It's always been a time where I worked 2 jobs to make up for the pay and the loss of the pay for the months where I wasn't teaching. So I understand that fear of, am I going to be able to feed my child? Am I going to be able to pay my bills, my rent? Will I need to go get some food assistance? And if so, I'll line right up and do what I need to do for my family. But let me see if I can add one thing I haven't heard tonight, and that's about what happens when positions continuously get cut in our schools. It's not just that there's a pay problem going on with attracting good talent. We have been able to attract rock star talent to Buncombe County. We just can't keep them. I've been in the schools for 26 years, and hey, maybe I was a rock star. Maybe I still am. But I'll tell you this, I have seen some rock star teachers come into our building. I have seen them ignite student engagement. I have seen them inspire. I walked by young one man's classroom. This young man had every white male with a book open on his desk reading. And I just haven't seen that, like forever. Every kid reading and loving it, but he left us. It wasn't just the pay, because he wasn't a materialistic fellow, but he did want to get married, and his future wife did want to have a family and did want to have them supported. He wasn't a particularly materialistic fellow, but when we lost a teaching position, and then he was asked to teach something out of his area of expertise, and he tried, but he didn't feel like he was 100%. He was demoralized. And that's what happens in our schools that lose positions. The ADM calculation for positions is not the best way to assign teaching positions in our school or staff. We have cuts to custodial staff, but the same acreage of grass to cut.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Elizabeth Green.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Green, and I'm a student at Charles D. Owen High School. Last year, I was the new kid. I joined midway through the second semester. I chose to go to Owen because I loved the environment, I loved the students, and from what I could see, I loved the teachers. I found Owen to be amazingly welcoming, but also determined to be kind and determined for their futures, for their paths as students and as teachers. Excuse me. Every single teacher that I have had, I have felt has cared about me deeply. They have connected with me as a student. They have taken every effort, more than I could possibly ask them to take. And nobody becomes a teacher by accident. Every single one of them had made so many choices and so many sacrifices, spent so many hours and days and years of their lives to become teachers and to support those students. At Owen, I have felt appreciated, cared for by every student, by every teacher, and excuse me. Even though we are a small school, many of my classes have very packed classrooms. Last semester, I had a classroom with broken heating and 30 students. This semester, one of my classes has 29 students. Another one of my classes has 33 students. Each one of these teachers is doing the best that they can, but if we take teachers away from the school system, then where are we going to put the students that would be in those classes? Are we going to put them? Are there going to be 35, 40 kids to a class? And on a slightly different note, technology is rising in this world, and in previous years, the technology department of my high school has been diminished. There are only 3 classes, and these classes may be removed for good. And I currently have digital design and animation. I have done a lot of freelancing in my past. I have done some volunteer work for Asheville and Ukraine for digital design. Owen would be the only Buncombe County school without a technology department. And with cybersecurity and technology on the rise, and with people majoring in each of these, I would beg of everybody to keep.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. This afternoon, the board spent a long time discussing the capital and current expense budget. We have had reports from our staff in regards to these items and pay for this. And so I like I needed to tell you a little bit about that, because we did spend 4 hours evaluating what is before us and the needs that we have. So at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Would you like any questions?
Well, okay, do you want me to do that first? Sure. Are there questions from board members after having?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, if I may.
You may.
Thank you. First, yeah, I want to thank all of the teachers who are here and everything you do for our students. We see you, we hear you. You're very important to us, so know that, please. Budgets are a reflection of priorities. That's what I learned in the business world that I work in. So I first wanted to just take a minute and thank Dr. Jackson for, his journey of listening and learning the first few months to go through our school system and really listen. He listened to all of you, he listened to students, he listened to parents, and came back to us with a budget options that, in my opinion, are student-focused. They prioritize our student needs, and the needs of our school community. One of your banner word is elevate. To use that a little bit differently, I was capturing my thoughts a little bit earlier, and I feel like this budget honestly elevates a lot of the needs that we have, the true needs that we have in our school system. And that honest approach of elevating those sincere needs, very much appreciated. They're hard things to talk about. They're things like achievement gaps, equity, mental health, topics that are difficult to address sometimes. And so the budgets that we had to discuss that you compile with your staff and the stakeholders in the community, I feel like that it honestly seeks to address all of those sincere issues, by asking our community for significant investment in our teachers, in our staff, folks in our classrooms that are going to support our students and their journey of learning. Retention of teachers and staff is critical. We see that in the proposed salary increases for both certified and classified staff. Addressing the equity issues and achievement gaps in our system that very honestly exist. We see you attempting to address those with investment into a superintendent that will provide leadership to our student services and support team. There's in our schools for providing services like school social workers and counselors. That's really elevating that need for mental health that is very real in our students in their homes, in their classrooms, and the mental health of our teachers as well. Adequate student support services in our schools, led in a program like this, I believe will help teachers and help with the quality of your workplace. So I appreciate that vision and that willingness to propose that in the way that you did. So I just want to say, first of all, that I was heartened to see that your learning and listening adventure came back with this. 4 additional counselors requested, 7.5 ESL teachers requested to address the needs of ML students in our classes, ESL specialists, trying to solve our busing issues with an assistant director of transportation. I feel they are all very needed and wise investments in our schools. So I wanted to say that first, that your honesty and listening and bringing those needs very sincerely back to the board and to the stakeholders in the community to discern a path forward. I appreciate it, and I think it's a very good set of budget proposals. So thank you.
Other people? Amanda?
Yeah. So I wanted to echo a little bit of what Mr. Elliott said. I just want to thank you guys for coming out and speaking from your heart, and a lot of faces in here. I know Miss Sally will definitely make you show your license, even if you sit on the school board, you still have to show your license to get your kid. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing in the schools. Amy Lunsford, as a former Woodfin Wolverine, thank you for doing what you're doing at Woodfin Elementary. That's a very special place for me, and of course all the teachers that came out from Irwin. As someone who graduated there and taught there for many years, very, very special place in my heart. I feel like this topic of budget is a little personal for me as well, because I am, someone that did leave, and part of that was necessity, so I get it. I want to thank our finance department and Dr. Jackson for putting together these budget proposals. I feel like we're going to make some big asks this year, and I know that for our county commissioners, in the conversations that we had last year, I know that we need big help from the state as well. and I hope that we get that. But either way, we have to come to you to make the big ask, and we so appreciate you guys being here and hearing from the teachers and having this relationship, and just thank you for coming.
Thank you. Others?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I can echo what Mr. Elliott and I keep wanting to call her Miss Sprouse, Miss Simpkins. I've known her since she was little at Irwin. I too appreciate, I get emotional. I appreciate what you do. I really do. Just subbing for 4 years just gave me so much more respect. I've always respected my teachers, don't get me wrong, and respected my children's teachers and principals and staff. But what y'all do every day makes a difference. It really does. Thank you to Al Whitesides, who he's my family, and for he and Martin to be here to show their support. We are going to make a big ask, but we also know there's only a pot of money unless we raise taxes. And that's something, that's not our decision, obviously, but I think it's very important for our community to know that our county commissioners support public education. And Al and Martin, I want to personally thank you. Amanda, Terry, they've been out in our schools. You know what we're facing, and we appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
We do indeed. It's a hold, you hold my hand, I'll hold your hand as we move through this process. Thank you. Other comments from board members?
The only comment that I did want to say, you mentioned, Madam Chair, you mentioned that we met for a long time this afternoon. That was televised and is, can be, if anybody's interested, you are welcome to go back and take a look at all that discussion, because that is out there. So I just wanted to let everybody
Thank you.
know that.
I appreciate you doing that. Is there a motion that would come forth at this time?
At this time, Madam Chair, again, I want to thank you guys for all the time and effort that went into the options that were proposed and the budget that was laid out for our capital commitments. And at this time, I would like to make a motion that we accept the capital outlay budget as presented, and that we accept option 3 of the operational budget as presented. Did I get that?
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. I have a motion and a second.
Now further discussion.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. We have amended our agenda, so we will remove the Irwin High School, as I said at the beginning, their request, because it came in under bid and did not need to be addressed. Okay, so I'm going to call on Dr. Jackson, if I can, at this time, a minute or two over here to talk about the legislative agenda. I'm sorry. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll just say how much I appreciate hearing from our teachers. Thank you, board members.
Board members, the 2023-2024 legislative agenda of the Buncombe County Schools Board of Education has been revised with 5 additions. I'd like to read those to you. I believe you have a copy of that. In the area of prioritized student safety and well-being, added to the legislative agenda is a request to fully fund the Leandro decision. Added to the legislative agenda is a request to oppose legislation that requires Buncombe County Schools and all LEAs additional requirements and mandates but does not provide new revenues to fund said programs. Added to the legislative agenda is the request for increased funding and assistance to local communities and refugee resettlement organizations to address the needs of new arrivals due to national immigration policy changes. Added to the legislative agenda is a request to fully fund the North Carolina Teaching Fellows Program. And finally, added to the legislative agenda is the request to revise school performance grades and change the weight that growth receives to make it heavier in the formula. Those are the revisions, Madam Chair.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the legislative agenda that Dr. Jackson has spoken to.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Ooh, I got a second, 2 seconds.
Yes.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a legislative agenda. The next item on the action agenda is the Irwin High School easement for a sewer line replacement. And we heard information about this afternoon. Are there questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, we sure want to move that stuff out in an efficient way.
Absolutely. And I'll make the motion that we approve that.
Thank you. To move the stuff in an efficient way. No.
I just want to get it done.
Oh,
at
I'm sure
Irwin.
you do, and I'm joking
My
here.
school.
Okay, so I need a...
I said Irwin grad that I am, I'll second it.
Well, thank you, Miss Irwin grad. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're going to move it on wherever Chip Cody is. Now it's time for the consent agenda. On the consent agenda is budget item amendment number 6, minutes of April 13, 2023 regular meeting, the personnel report, mandatory student athletic insurance for 23-24, North Buncombe High School maintenance easement for public water line, approval of board member training credits, policies for second reading, policy 3226 and 4205 is internet safety. Are there any questions here? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? On the information agenda, we have financial reports. Our next scheduled meeting is going to be June the 1st, 2023, work session and updates and closed session beginning at 4. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.